Makes no difference. Either one.
We're giving it to you as secretary if you want.
Sure. I'll take it.
Good evening. It's 6 o'clock now. We'll call the meeting to order. We can start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. We have a relatively short agenda tonight. First item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes for last Monday's meeting. Any questions, comments, concerns, corrections? If not, we'll entertain.
I make a motion to approve the regular session minutes from July 15th.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. For the next item is the Tower Street, where the town actually had a foreclosure. And I believe the amount of money that was willing to be paid or desired to be paid back now by the owner. So the owners have a right, once the town is foreclosed, the owners have a right to pay the town back, and it's a little over $43,000. And I don't know if Doug has the actual amount of money listed.
Sorry, I got a nosebleed.
Oh.
Very,
I didn't think it was that bad of a meeting.
yeah.
Any questions on the information that Doug had provided?
I just have a general question with regards to the foreclosures of the liens. I believe the liens are through December of 2018, is that correct?
That's when the most recent liens happened, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's what
Uh-huh.
the plaintiff's paying off.
Yep.
And-
So-
and
But there would be more
does
added
that
on.
include accruals between any unpaid bills between then and now?
Yeah, so what they're paying off is a total of $43,063.59, and that includes everything up to, not the bill that's due in August, but everything up to that point.
So all penalties, interest,
Yep.
any of the amounts of money for attorney's fees that the town would have to be reimbursed for, are included in that $43,063.59.
Right, yeah, there was almost $3,000 in legal fees, so.
Any further questions? If not, I believe Andrew would be able to read the motion.
As provided under Mass General Laws, Chapter 60, Section 69, I, Andrew Jolda, hereby move to vacate the final judgment entered on June 28th, 2019 in tax lien foreclosure case number 18 TL000804, Town of Webster versus Stephen R. Angelo, covering the property located at 39 Tower Street, Assessors Parcel 28-D-29-0, upon payment by Stephen R. Angelo on or before July 23rd, 2019, of all amounts due to redeem the tax taking covering the property, which include but are not limited to taxes and interest to the date of payment, all charges and fees associated with the foreclosure case, and any costs incurred by the town in the care, custody, and control of the property after the entry of the judgment. Upon payment to the town of the full redemption amount, the town will take necessary action to vacate the foreclosure judgment and withdraw the foreclosure case in the Massachusetts Land Court.
We've heard the motion. Do we have a second?
Second that motion.
Any further discussion? The only other question I had for Doug would be, how far back did this actually go with regards to the non-payment of taxes?
Okay. I don't recall off the top.
I know it's years.
Yeah. If you want, I can look it up
No,
and email you.
that's okay.
but-
I was just curious if you knew.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, Courtney, could you do the roll call, please?
Selectman Gabor?
Yes.
Selectman Consos?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Chairman Becker?
Yes, thank you. And the last item on the agenda today is a public hearing, so we'll have to have a call of the public hearing. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion to open the public hearing regarding the proposed paving of Loveland Road.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, thank you. So we have before us, we've opened a public hearing with regards to the private paving of a private road, Loveland Road. There is a petition that's been filed to require a town meeting to be held. We've tentatively set the town meeting for August 12th. The reason we're here tonight is part of the policy that was approved at the previous December town meeting was that we would hold an open hearing when a petition was presented to pave a road in this fashion. So that's the reason that we have the public hearing today. So we'd invite the public to come up and probably have the proponent of the citizens article come up first if you could and speak towards the article. If you wish.
Bob, do you want to come up and talk for a minute? While Bob's coming up here, I'll give a little bit of background. So this is the first one we've been trying to do, and Bob's been very patient with me and us being new to this process. So go ahead and explain what you
If you could just
wanna do.
identify yourself and your address, please.
My name is Robert Kirsch. I live at 39 Loveland Road. I am not part of the paving. I am paved already. 39 and 41, we're paved. But we're concerned with the road because it's in terrible condition. It has been for, well, certainly a lot longer than I've been there. It's a hazard. It's a hazard to the neighbors, to the fire department, to any emergency vehicles, to the police department. It's just a terrible, terrible road, if you can call it that. It's probably a little difficult to call it a road, but that's, I guess, that would be what would describe it as. The neighbors on Loveland Road that are involved in the paving, which goes from 23 Loveland to 37 Loveland, have agreed to pave except for 33. We are willing to pave if it's deemed necessary without 33. We certainly would like for them to participate. It becomes, I mean, you know, their part of the road is still a hazard. They've dug their heels in, as far as I know, that they don't want any part of it. I gave Doug a proposal for the paving of their portion of their frontage. There is also a neighbor on the street who, if necessary, is willing to pay to have the road in front of them paved, just because of just the way the road is. So, with or without them, the road's gonna get paved. We would love it if it would be with them. And I don't know what else I might add to this, if you have any questions.
Actually, one for Doug. Thank you, Mr. Kirsch. So there are possibly two ways of having this done. Right now, it could be done through town meeting, in which case the town would pave the road, in which case I would assume then this 33 Loveland would end up getting paved.
Correct, yeah.
And then if it's done privately, in this case, 33 Loveland may not get paid if 33 Loveland didn't want to. I know we should hear if anyone representing 33 Loveland would like to speak today, they can certainly come on up.
Yeah, no, that's correct. If it went through the town meeting process, any abutters on the road would receive a betterment for the cost to improve the road.
Thank you.
The cost of the project would obviously go up because of call
Well,
it?
prevailing wage,
Prevailing wage.
anytime government does something, it's more expensive than if someone else did it, so.
That's why our taxes are so high.
You're welcome.
One of the reasons.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Gersh. Anyone else like to come up and speak? Please. Good evening. We can just have you let us know your name and your address, please.
I was in the process of doing this. I'm Dr. Kathleen Gotzik, one of the owners of 33 Loveland Road. Gail Arsenault, 33 Loveland Road as well.
Welcome.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. First off, we would like to just provide you with,
Excuse me, wonder if they may be able to speak up so we can hear them?
The mics are not working. Yours aren't working either up there.
Yeah. The mics are actually for the video recording.
Yeah, the acoustics aren't too great.
So sure, I mean, if you can come on up, there's a couple of extra, it's like church here, everybody's in the back, but if you want to come up, there's a couple extra seats
we
here.
can increase our volume.
Okay, thank you.
We first became aware of this project on Friday, what was it?
July 12th.
July 12th. And that, when we were first made aware of this project, we then came into the town hall on July 15th, which is that Monday, to secure information. We did secure that information, which we then gave you our documents last week at the meeting in terms of what we found and what we researched. Then through the rest of the week, we received several phone calls, and we got a package delivered at our home at 333 Loveland Road. Package left at the doorstep under a floor mat. And this is, I prepared a analysis of the communications and the information that we had received in that time period. So I'd like to submit that to you.
Mr. Chairman, so we can go through that process, but in the, just to keep everyone's time in consideration, I think the question now is, are you willing to let your neighbors pave the road in front of your home?
We
wait.
just have something that we would like to present to you.
Right, so I would like to not be interrupted. So I'm going to.
Well, Dr. Godzik, I think what Doug was also saying is that we did receive the package, the letter that you had sent last Monday. So the board actually did receive that, citing the point of time in which you weren't aware of the information. Now you've just cited that you've received calls and a package was left. Do you have anything in there that will then assist?
Well, yes, in fact, if
Other
you
than what you
just
said.
allow me to continue, this is the analysis of that material that was received. So I would just like to leave with this with the selectmen, and then I will then proceed to go further in terms of my thoughts on paving the road. And that's just for your information. And there are some questions that we answer. Okay, so my position on paving, regarding the proposed paving of Loveland Road. I oppose the proposed paving of my private property, 33 Loveland Road on Webster Lake in the town of Webster in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The reasons for this: this is my private property. I inherited this property from my parents, Francis J. and Jeanette B. Godzik, in and around 1994, and I've held title to this property since that time. My parents purchased this property from Joseph Love in May of 1952 through transfer of a warranty deed, which my parents held until they transferred it to me, along with my sister, Gail Arsenault. I inherited this property from my parents on the condition that I maintain the property in the character and manner in which my parents and my family lived and enjoyed this property during their lifetimes and their ongoing lives, and our ongoing lives. This property is to be maintained in its natural state to include natural lake pebbled shorelines, a camp footprint, maintenance of natural habitats, and maintenance of the integrity of the natural dirt road that existed at the time of purchase. In my deed, there is a designation for a 10-foot right-of-way, which is the definition of the width of the road over my private property to allow residents who own property behind me to transit to their properties. It does not allow any hardscape, any additions or attachments, or alterations, or any other use except transit, ingress, and egress to the respective properties beyond 33 Loveland Road. The integrity of this road and its natural composition is to maintain a minimal intrusion profile in the natural habitat which borders on Cedar Swamp. Cedar Swamp is a natural habitat for wildlife to include nesting turtles, which have traversed this road since I have observed them since 1959. They come onto the top of my property every spring to lay their eggs on the expanse of my land east of the natural road. This year, 5 breeding turtles were witnessed coming across the natural dirt road and nesting on my property. The integrity of this road and its natural composition minimizes heat absorption, and this provides minimal heat exposure to the crossing turtles and other wildlife. This also provides me with a comfortable platform to do what I have loved doing at our family camp since I was a child, which is walking barefoot freely along this dirt road and without concern to incurring burns to my feet and allowing a toughening up of the soles of my feet during the summer months of each year. I have had my professional career is based in Los Angeles and has been based there since 1986. However, I return each year to my family's summer cottage on Webster Lake to do the things I love, of which this activity is a priority for me. This constitutes part of the quiet enjoyment I derive from my property on Webster Lake. My sister and I have discussed the future of this property, which we each own as individuals, and some of the discussions center on willing this property to a conservation trust in the future. A requirement for this would be to maintain property in as pristine a natural condition as possible. This includes maintenance of as much natural conformations as possible without alterations in the land or the introduction of artificial surfaces and/or materials. There has been an endangered chestnut tree growing on my property close to the dirt road, and it has been on my property since I was a child. This tree has not succumbed to the blight that has destroyed most of the chestnut tree population in New England. This tree needs to be protected, and this requires minimal changes in the growing environment of this tree. Any disruption in the proximity and around its growing environment base will jeopardize the life and integrity of this tree. This natural road does not require salting or any artificial chemicals to maintain. By doing so, this has protected the critical wetlands that exist next to this natural road. I see no advantage or betterment to go forward with a major alteration on the 10-foot right-of-way on my private property, which is proposed as a paving. This proposal, in fact, is the construction of a new road in this area with completely new materials. The proposed paving of the natural road as it exists is a major alteration to the existing conditions. It would be occurring in an environmentally sensitive area, and it would introduce a significant artificial burden, black tar surfacing, to this natural area. Loveland Road is not a typical private road. Loveland Road has an established natural habitat with established species populations in Cedar Swamp. Cedar Swamp runs along the entire length of Loveland Road, and then the lake is on the other side. I have also witnessed and photographed bald eagles in Cedar Swamp on several occasions.
Dr.
This is-
Godzik, I'm just going to ask you to pause for a minute, please. Do you have a lot more to read, first off?
No, I
Okay,
have 3 more
'cause
paragraphs.
I do have other people who
I
I would ask to speak. Thank you.
Yes, I understand. This is my private property with all the rights conveyed to me with private property ownership and my rights to the quiet enjoyment of my property. Therefore, there will be no paving on my private property, 33 Loveland Road, at any time by any agency, body, person, or company. I do not oppose any homeowner of the properties at 23, 25, 29, 31, 30, or 37 Loveland Road from paving their own private properties with all the attendant risks and responsibilities of their actions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Ms. Arsenault, did you?
Yes, I also would like to
speak, please? I oppose the paving of my property on 33 Loveland on Webster Lake in the town of Webster in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. In addition to all the points made by my sister Kathleen, I would like to add these few things regarding Loveland Road. It is a private road owned by the residents. It was a dirt road when my mother, Jeanette Godzik, purchased the property in 1952. For my entire life, I knew that as a property owner, I granted the 10-foot right-of-way to neighbors who lived beyond us on the road, and that it was my responsibility to keep my section passable. For decades, individual property owners worked with the town to keep the road in usable condition. We would fill the holes, and the town would periodically grade to assist in smoothing the surface. I would ask you all to think about this. Where could you find a paved macadam road that would look the same year after year for over 60 years with minimal maintenance? As a dirt road, Loveland looks today as it did over 60 years ago. The only maintenance has been grading and filling holes. We can ask the highway department what the maintenance schedule for this road would have been over the past 60 years if it had been paved long ago. So over time, a well-maintained dirt road is well worth the savings in time and money. The road was part of the lake, and keeping its character and charm was a promise I made to Mom and Dad as a condition of being able to enjoy it throughout my lifetime, my daughters, and beyond. At the time of purchase, for every property owner on Loveland, the road has been a natural dirt road. They purchased anyway. It has a series of natural speed bumps which keeps traffic moving more slowly, thus enhancing the safety of all. Each owner has the right to maintain the road so that everyone has access to properties beyond them. Some might select paving as a solution, and some may want to maintain the road as is. It should be a property owner's choice and should not be forced at a selectmen's or a town meeting. If paving becomes reality for some owners, they need to maintain the integrity of the wetlands, respect the rights of individuals before and beyond them, and ensure that the job is done with no damage to the property of others. We will continue to maintain our section of Loveland in conjunction with the town highway department. We ask that owners respect each person's right to maintain the road as each best sees fit. We ask that when engaging in contracts for trash pickup, delivery, and other services, that we all make a concerted effort to ensure that smaller sized trucks only be allowed to pass over this road. The current trash truck is too big. We have asked them to send a smaller truck to no avail. May I suggest that a sign be placed where the road splits to inform people that Loveland is a private way and should only be used by residents and their guests, not the curious public. This would cut out all through traffic and would be less intrusive to the road and its residents. For all of these reasons, I oppose the current proposal to pave at least 33 Loveland Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. Thank you.
We can just provide you with that also.
Thank you.
This is your verbal testimony in
Yeah,
writing?
I read it.
Great. Thank you. And before I ask for additional questions, Doug, just a procedural question. If this went, of course, it can take two paths, the paving of a private road privately or the paving of the private road by the town.
Mm-hmm.
The policy that was adopted by the town, if it went to town meeting vote, would that mean that 33 Loveland would be paved?
Yes, it would.
And then the cost of apportioning of that piece would be apportioned based upon the policy that was.
Yep, based upon their portion of the linear frontage.
Thank you. All right, any other folks wish to come on up and talk? Thank you. Mr. Grish? I just asked if anybody else wanted to talk that hasn't already spoken. Okay, thank you.
I don't know if you folks are familiar, or you've been down Levelland Road recently. Doug is very familiar. He's been there. Whatever,
3311,
33,
the owners
yeah.
of 3311.
3311, they've got no trespassing signs posted all over everywhere. They have cut down trees, and they have left the debris.
Mr. Kirsch, I would just ask we stick to just the road paving and not comment on,
Well,
because
okay.
that could be handled through Conservation Commission if there are issues. And in fact, Conservation Commission does have to get involved. I do want to make sure everyone is aware of that. But I would just caution not to, you know,
All right.
what he or she
All
did.
right,
Thank
just
you.
one other thing I'd like to add, if I may. Back to the no trespassing signs. 39, myself, and 41, we are private property. There is a right of pass and repass over my property for 41. We are private. We are not a private road with the right to transverse from.
So the road does not go through your properties, it dead ends at your properties, is that what you're referring to?
It's 41 is the end of Levelland Road. So, just as a point of information for what it's worth, and it's probably not worth much, they've got signs all over the place, no trespassing. They have trespassed on my property.
Well, again, here, I'm gonna.
Yeah, well, I
let's-
just
let's-
want to make the town
I
aware.
appreciate that, but
All right.
I'll hold you off there, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're all set.
Thank you. We have any other discussion with regards to the building of the road, the paving of the road? Any other comments?
I would just like to say one more
Ms.
thing.
Arsenault, if you could please come to the, just so we can have it recorded for the video. Thank you.
Gail Arsenault, 33 Loveland Road. We know that the condition of the road at this time is poor in front of our section. We have been in touch with someone who is intending to come and smooth it out and fill those holes. So it's not like we're saying that the way it is right now is the way it should be. In the future, right now, the town comes at the beginning of the season and the end of the season to grade, but in the past, the town has come more frequently. So at this point in time, I just want to be very clear that we know that we do have the bumps and the holes along our portion of Loveland Road, but we are also in the process of addressing those so that they will be smooth.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. And I know in previous meetings, Doug has explained that with all of the private roads in town, that the grading of the private roads, he's actually, I think, had to come up with a policy where they will do it twice a year, in some cases once a year, but trying to do it twice a year, because there are so many unpaved private roads around that we have to get emergency vehicles access to.
Yeah, and when, as soon as it rains, the grading is, yeah.
Through the chair, is there a difference between a private road and a, excuse me, right-of-way?
Yes, I mean, there can be a private road that's just based on an easement. There could be a private road that was just never accepted by the town, that, you know, the ownership of the underlying ground is either with the original developer or somewhat in question. So there can be a difference between a private road that has a specified owner and one that does not.
And you can also have private roads that aren't really private roads. In other words, you can have an easement across something that isn't a road
Yeah.
to access your property as well.
Yep.
And all private roads are not necessarily passable. There are a lot of paper roads in the town that you wouldn't be able to take a four-wheeler up.
Yep.
So maybe just to clarify before if there aren't any other questions on the public hearing. Oh,
Paul Rapps, 29 Loveland Road. And as he was saying about how the town has graded over the years, they've also brought down fill and has elevated the road. So where my house is where it's the pavement ends, and then it goes into the dirt road. With them adding all that fill over the years and grading has caused that part of the road to be higher. So now it floods out in puddles at the end of my driveway. So during the wintertime, it ices up, freezes, it becomes totally unusable. So in their eyes, it may be a solution for them, but it hasn't been. It's actually caused a problem for me also with the way they've maintained the road over the years. So I just want to make that point.
No, I think
Yeah,
we can
it-
see how that could happen.
Right. As the paving moves forward, I'll have the highway department work with the paver and see what
we can do.
we do to address that.
Okay, and I just have like a procedural question here as far as if we vote to go through the town, basically, as long as we get the right amount of votes for the abutters, it should happen basically no matter what, whether if they're on board or not, 33, whatever number they are.
Right, so my understanding, and again, this is a little new to us because obviously this is the first time we're going through it. If the neighbors decide to go through the town meeting process, we have a policy to apportion the cost of that. The entire road would be paved.
Okay,
And the cost would be apportioned based on the policy, which is basically linear feet
all right,
on the road itself.
okay.
If it went the other way, I would imagine, I would defer to Doug that the neighbors could all get together and pave what's in there and on their property. And they
Other
would
than
have to
that
leave,
section,
they would have to leave 33 Loveland alone.
but then if we did it through the town and we have the right, we could have the whole thing paved.
Again, so long as you're meeting the requirements of the policy, which is a certain number of the affected homes signing up for it.
Okay.
So in that case, I don't remember, is
Was
it
it-
70%? I don't remember
I thought it was 2/3.
I know it started.
Yeah,
it
it started at 50 and then went up
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, I think it went to 2/3.
Yeah, so long as you have 2/3 of the affected homes, then you've done what you need to do as citizens to petition town meeting,
Mhm.
and town meeting will then have to vote on it, obviously, vote in the affirmative.
Okay.
And we have set the town meeting date for August 12th. So the only question I think that remained was whether or not the petitioners, Mr. Kirsch, I think you were the initial petitioner, whether you wanted to actually go forward with the town meeting. And I think you just need to let Doug know that as soon as possible, because we then have to get some postings in place for the town meeting to occur in the paper. I think we'd need to know, like, tomorrow.
Yeah, right. Well, I think the issue here is, as far as prevailing wage is concerned, we were not notified, or I wasn't notified, that if the job was done as, 2/3, which we have more than 2/3, that it would be a prevailing wage job. So I had it priced out as non-prevailing wage by Superior Paving. Everybody agreed at that number. Now we're talking prevailing wage, which has not been broached, other than I think what went out to the residents in the mail. And I haven't discussed it with anybody, whether they're willing to pay twice as much to have the road paved. My guess would be, and I'm only speculating, that those prior to 33, why would they want to pay more than twice as much to have somebody past them get paved? I guess that would be the question. So I don't know that we would have 2/3 to do it that way, and would people be willing to pay almost practically twice as much? That's the issue going through
So
the town.
from a timing standpoint, Doug, when do you need to know? Because you hate to go through the process of collecting all the signatures again, but if you don't have an answer to that, then you may be better off waiting to the October town meeting. But I would believe at that point, you may have to get a whole nother collection of signatures for it.
Well, I can discuss it with the other residents. We have scheduled, or I have scheduled, Superior Paving to start next week, which I suppose could be postponed, except that they've got us on their agenda in their schedule. I could speak to the people on the street, tonight and tomorrow, to see if they're willing to pay that additional cost.
Well, I think,
I have a question.
if we just get the
Sure,
date from Doug,
sure.
the posting date, when do we have to have this posted in the paper?
2 weeks in advance, so that would be next Monday.
Thank you. Please.
You had mentioned that the Conservation Committee would have to get involved,
Commission, yes.
the commission. At what point in the process, depending on which path you go, do they have to get involved? That's not clear to me, if it goes to town meeting versus if they did it independently.
Well, that's why, to Doug, I'm a little
Okay.
surprised that paving is
It's-
lined up, because I would have thought, and I thought this had to go through Conservation Commission.
Conservation should weigh in on it, so Bob, let me talk to the conservation agent, but they have been made aware of your intent to move the project forward, so I'll see what their plan and meeting schedule is.
So the conservation agent will be contacted.
Yeah. No,
Who then may give a green light or may say, no, we want to bring it before.
Yeah,
Conservation.
and I've talked to her, and she's aware of the project and understands the extent of what's going on, so. The conservation agent.
So it seems as though we have to get a decision, I would say, by this Friday, because you've got to line up the posting of that. You need to, actually need to know that by Thursday.
Yeah.
Has to be in the
To be in the
papers.
paper, we probably need to know. If you can let us know by Wednesday, honestly, yeah.
Because they have to contact the paper's got to get the print in
Yeah.
and line it all up. And Bob, did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, just a quick question. Is this all based on Article 12 of 2018?
Yeah, and so, and there was some question because, the Attorney General had put a hold on this. I talked to council and they said, they felt comfortable with the town moving forward, but there is a little bit of a question because the AG's office did put a hold on it.
Because Article 12 of 2018 hasn't been passed yet.
Yes. And
So if you're basing everything on that, you're
No.
basing everything on a...
Yeah, Doug, I'm sorry, Bob, if you can come here, just to repeat your point. That was brought up at our Selectmen's meeting, Bob, and Doug had contacted town council, who indicated to Doug and Doug indicated to the board that it was okay to proceed.
Yeah.
Even though the AG had put a stop on it.
And their reasoning was, this was the town meeting's vote that the democracy should prevail at this situation, and if we needed to address something in the future date, we could do that. But that's what council said.
All right, okay.
Yeah, because that was.
So if somebody doesn't want it, they've got a great argument.
There's an argument that
No,
can
I
be
think
made.
that argument's been made,
Yeah.
and Dr. Godzik actually put that forward in a letter
Yeah.
to the selectmen. She handed out, we didn't read the letter at the meeting,
Okay.
but I'm sure we all read it because it was handed out afterwards, and she pretty
Okay, I
much
just-
described that, and that's what Doug's answer was to that concern.
Okay. Because the other issue is you can't remove the warrant. The petition, once I certified it, he can't remove it.
We have to have the meeting.
Yeah, because you'd have to get all 100 people to remove it. So,
Oh, okay. I was not aware of
yeah,
that.
we went through this once with an annual with 10 signatures, and the person had, put forward the petition, said, I want to take it off. And I think it was the Attorney General, but we got some sort of ruling that said all 10 would have to take it off.
So in this case,
He'd
a
take 100.
sponsor, a chief sponsor of an article cannot remove it.
Because
The chief
everybody
sponsor would
signed
have to
on.
get everyone's agreement to remove it. So
Once
which
you
means
sign
we-
on to it, you're a part of it.
Right, which means we pretty much have to have a town meeting on August 12th.
I will double check that, because I think if the selectmen don't sign a warrant or something like that, I think we could.
Well, the one issue that would bring it down is if it would turn out that the whole premise of the warrant article was based on
That.
something
And we could say
faulty.
that the AG's office put a hold on
Right.
it, so we remove it.
and they would recommend
Yeah,
that,
yeah. So certainly we don't have to have a meeting. We
right,
can-
right. I mean, the
So
other
selectmen
option
just
too is,
won't call the meeting if that's the case.
the other option, which you brought up, is knock on wood, because the attorney said they're pushing on this, that we would be ready for October. Because you're talking, Once the Attorney General approves it, then by law, we have to post it for 2 consecutive weeks before the bylaw goes into effect. So it's gonna get real tight anyway. So, anyway, I just make,
So,
Appreciate you bringing it.
right, so at this point, I say the neighbors meet together. If they want to move forward on their own, they could certainly do that much quicker than they could if they went through the town process. So you guys get together, let me know what you want to do, and we'll find the best way to make that happen.
But just to clarify what Mr. Craver said, it sounds as though we would have the town meeting, the selectmen can decide not to call
Yeah.
the town meeting. But right now, the petitioners cannot, the petition sponsor cannot say, I don't want to have the
Yeah.
article.
right.
Right, I
So
think it would
right
be
now-
in the
Again,
selectmen's
That
hand at
ball
this
is
point.
rolling.
And as Doug said, we double check on that just to be sure, but this was a few years ago that this came up.
So, Doug, a couple things for you to double check.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
You got the
certainly talking with our council again,
Mhm.
checking with Conservation Commission agent
Mhm.
to make sure of that as well. So, any other questions at the board before I ask if there's anything else from the audience?
I've got a question regarding the
Thank
paving
you, Bob.
of that road, and conceivably in 2 sections with a dirt section for Mrs. Gozik's property. Do we open the door to, it's hilly? There's a gentleman at the beginning, the end of the first paved section that talks about water is backflowing into his property because of the gravel it's winter. Is there any requirement for, does it create other problems? I guess is
Standards,
what I'm saying.
So standards.
Yeah. So the paving would have to be done to, it's not town road specifications, but it would have to be done to, in concert with our engineer and our highway superintendent to make sure it doesn't cause additional problems.
So even when you say when it doesn't have to meet the town standards, that's with regards to drainage and whatnot, but
Yeah.
as I think you described at our meeting on Monday, you said that the town engineer and Kenny,
Mhm.
town highway, have to be involved in.
Yeah, just to make sure that, the project isn't gonna cause future problems. Yeah.
Any other questions from the board? If not, well, we can entertain any other questions from the audience. We're still in the public hearing, so. Jim, come on.
Hello, Tom Harvanek, speaking for 25 Loveland Road. I would just want to say I can appreciate the desire and the nostalgia for how it used to be. I certainly am one of them as well, because I used to walk barefoot in the same road, and I also understand the autonomy of each private landowner has to follow what they see as best, and that said, I find myself in favor of the private solution for the road. And it seems the ladies at 33 also seem cognizant of their property affects the people down the road from them. I could suggest, I know I've used the processed gravel at Hilka with good success. It's really resilient. It packs really well. Just wanted to throw that out there as a viable solution to have something resilient there versus unprocessed gravel. I'm not sure the quality of the roadbed there personally. As far as drainage, I don't know the path to correct this, but upon my folks getting there, they saw the filling of water at the base of the hill, at the base of 23 and Mr. Rabel's property, in the Rabel's property. They put in on their own accord a trap rock drainage to Cedar Swamp to filter that water. It's probably a little ahead of the time. It probably doesn't meet today's specifications, and it certainly has had sediment put on it. It's ineffective now. So I think there'll still be a good, given my knowledge of the grading is there will be water coming in, icing there in the season, unless we also work in parallel to correct some of that drainage and get it off the road, probably through some trap rock filter
just wanted to put that in people's heads as to have a solution that will work for decades, not just short term.
I appreciate that, and I think, I saw Doug taking notes. I mean, that's the,
Yeah.
making sure the flow of water is appropriate
Yeah.
is key, so.
That would be a
That may
division.
definitely involve Conservation Commission if you're going to be
Yeah.
putting water towards
Yeah.
the swamp.
So that would be an area between 23 and 25, and I'm, just want to throw out there, I'm good with using that. There's like a 3-foot strip. I know beyond the marker, that's state. I don't know what's involved, but it certainly will make it accessible for a solution.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Any other comments, anything in addition to what we've heard already? If not, any from the board? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Courtney, would you poll the board, please?
Selectman Moore?
Yes.
Selectman Contos?
Yes.
Selectman Jolin?
Abstain.
Chairman Becker?
Yes. All right, so the public hearing is closed. Any other business to come before us? Now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. I'll second. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, folks.